Imagine waking up one day realizing that the leadership you always wanted, the confidence, the clarity, the strategic mindset was never about talent or luck. It was about wisdom, the kind of wisdom most people overlook because it is pure philosophy. Yet it's the missing engine for high-level contemporary leadership. That success is not a mystery. It's a science of human excellence, and if you understand it, you can reshape your decisions, your habits, your productivity, and even the way people respond to you. In a world overflowing with noise and pressure, his philosophy cuts through like a blade. It shows you how to lead with balance instead of burnout, how to act with virtue instead of impulse, how to turn everyday choices into long-term success. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how Aristotle would master modern leadership and how you can apply the same principles to transform your life, your career, and your future. Let's begin the transformation. Leadership doesn't begin in the boardroom or in the spotlight or in the moment you're given authority. According to Aristotle, leadership begins in the quiet space where no one is watching, in the place where you shape your character, long before the world sees the results. To Aristotle, character wasn't decorative. It wasn't a vague concept or something you inherit. It was the structure that determines whether a person rises, stagnates, or collapses under pressure. He believed that everything you do, how you decide, how you speak, how you respond to conflict, springs from the habits you've been building all your life. And here's what most modern leaders miss. Character is not something you possess. It is something you practice. Every day. Every moment. In every decision that seems small, trivial, or invisible, you are constructing the leader you will be when the stakes are high. This insight powers one of Aristotle's most quoted ideas: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. Aristotle didn't see excellence as perfection. He didn't link it to trophies, money, or applause. Excellence for him meant arete, the highest expression of human potential. And he believed every person, regardless of background, is capable of reaching it through intention and discipline. Excellence is a system, a rhythm, a repeated commitment to actions aligned with who you want to become. You don't suddenly turn into a great leader. When the opportunity appears, you gradually become one through your habits and mindset, long before anyone recognizes it. A person who practices clarity becomes a clear leader. A person who practices discipline becomes a reliable leader. A person who practices courage becomes a trusted leader. A person who practices balance becomes a steady, strategic, respected leader. Aristotle's formula is simple. Leadership equals character plus practice plus purpose. One of his most valuable insights, the golden mean, explains where leadership truly thrives. The golden mean is the ideal midpoint between two extremes. Courage sits between cowardice and recklessness. Confidence stands between insecurity and arrogance. Generosity balances between selfishness and wastefulness. Ambition lies between laziness and obsession. Aristotle believed that great leadership exists in that balanced center. It is a state of clarity where your thoughts are steady, your emotions are disciplined, and your decisions are shaped by wisdom, not impulse. Consider how many people today live in extremes. They work too much or too little. They speak too aggressively or remain painfully silent. They make decisions too fast or overthink until they freeze. They chase opportunity obsessively or sabotage themselves through resistance and distraction. Aristotle's philosophy brings equilibrium to this chaos, guiding you toward a leadership style that is strong without being harsh, confident without being arrogant, ambitious without being destructive. This is critically important in our modern world. Today, people move quickly but think shallowly. We are constantly connected but rarely grounded. We have access to unlimited information, but almost no training in real wisdom. Leaders are expected to be visionaries, strategists, mentors, communicators, creators, and to do all of it without breaking. Aristotle becomes surprisingly modern here. His philosophy is a framework that allows a leader to navigate complex environments without losing themselves. A leader operating with Aristotle's principles doesn't crumble under pressure. They don't get pulled by trends, noise, or emotional storms. They make decisions from a place of intention rather than reaction. This is the difference between a leader who merely survives each day and a leader who shapes the future. Picture a leader in today's world. Overwhelmed, overworked, and constantly multitasking. Their days are filled with meetings, messages, interruptions, pressure, and expectations. They are busy but not effective. They are moving but not progressing. Their decisions become rushed, their team becomes disconnected, and their confidence begins to fluctuate. They live in extremes. Too much urgency, too much noise, too many unfiltered demands. Aristotle would look at this leader and say, "You are out of balance. Your habits are not aligned with your purpose. Your mind is not centered." His solution would not be to push harder. It would be to rebuild the inner structure, your virtues, your intentions, your habits, so that leadership becomes an extension of who you are, not a mask you wear. This is where Aristotle introduces his leadership triangle: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is character. It is credibility earned through consistent, disciplined action. People decide whether to trust you based not on your title, but on how you live. Pathos is emotional insight. Aristotle understood emotional intelligence long before it had a name. Great leaders inspire. They motivate without manipulating. They understand the emotional landscape of their team and respond with clarity rather than irritation. Logos is logic. It is strategic thinking, clear reasoning, and the ability to make decisions that stand up under pressure. When emotions rise and chaos builds, logos is what keeps a leader stable. When ethos, pathos, and logos are aligned, a leader becomes magnetic, calm, strategic, confident. People trust them instinctively because their presence communicates stability and purpose. Aristotle believed real leadership requires transformation from the inside out. You must become someone worthy of being followed, not through ego but through integrity. By developing discipline, wisdom, balance, courage, justice, and humility, you construct a presence that others naturally recognize as leadership. Before moving forward, ask yourself a question Aristotle would consider essential. Are my current habits creating the leader I want to become? Most people drift. They live reactively. Aristotle teaches you to build intentionally. We live in a time when leadership is more visible, more demanded, and more scrutinized than at any other point in history. Yet people feel more lost, more overwhelmed, and more uncertain about how to lead effectively. The modern world promises opportunity, innovation, and limitless potential, but it also creates pressure, distraction, and emotional turbulence. And this is the exact environment where Aristotle's philosophy becomes not just relevant, but indispensable. Today's leader faces a challenge Aristotle could have predicted. The world is moving faster than our ability to think clearly. We are flooded with information, but starving for wisdom. We can access any fact instantly, but struggle to make meaningful decisions. We have tools for productivity, communication, and organization, yet people feel more unfocused, more exhausted, and more disconnected from their purpose. Aristotle understood that the root of chaos is not the environment, it is the person experiencing it. When your habits are scattered, your character is reactive, and your decisions are based on emotion rather than strategy, the world feels overwhelming. But when your mind is disciplined, your intentions are clear, and your choices are grounded in virtue, the world becomes manageable. You stop reacting to everything around you and begin shaping the direction you want to go. This is why Aristotle's ideas matter. He created a blueprint for navigating complexity long before the modern world even existed. He taught how to build an inner structure strong enough to withstand pressure, distraction, and uncertainty. And that blueprint can still guide leaders through today's challenges. One of the greatest modern problems is the constant pull toward extremes. People either overwork or avoid work entirely. They pursue ambition recklessly or feel guilty for having ambition at all. They overestimate themselves or underestimate themselves. They move too fast or freeze in hesitation. Leadership weakens when life is lived in extremes. Aristotle understood that the key to stability, and therefore to great leadership, is balance. Not softness, not compromise, but a powerful centered balance that gives you clarity in every direction. Think about the everyday challenges a modern leader faces. They wake up already behind. Their phone is full of messages before they even leave the house. Every ping, notification, or alert pulls their attention in a different direction. Meetings consume their day, leaving no space for reflection or meaningful work. Their schedule is full, but their purpose is unclear. Their productivity is high, but their progress is shallow. They are surrounded by opportunity, yet disconnected from themselves. Aristotle's wisdom hits directly at this problem. He believed that without intentional design, the mind becomes a battlefield. Your emotions pull one way, your stress another, your impulses in yet another direction. The leader who has not developed virtue becomes fragmented, and when you are fragmented internally, your leadership becomes inconsistent externally. When leaders feel overwhelmed, it's not because responsibility is too heavy. It's because their inner foundation is too thin. Aristotle would say they have allowed emotion to replace reason, impulses to replace discipline, and habits of distraction to replace habits of excellence. Another modern challenge Aristotle perfectly predicted is the illusion of success. Many people chase goals that look impressive from the outside, but empty on the inside. They pursue titles, recognition, or status without developing the wisdom to maintain them. This is why so many leaders collapse after they rise. Their achievements outgrow their character. Their outer world expands faster than their inner world. Aristotle warned against this imbalance. He believed that the goal of leadership is not external success. It is internal excellence, because excellence sustains success. When your character is strong, your decisions are wise, and your habits are disciplined, you can handle growth. You can handle pressure. You can handle opportunity. Consider the emotional challenges modern leaders face. Anxiety, frustration, fatigue, and burnout have become normal. People feel pressure to be perfect, pressure to be productive, pressure to be relevant, pressure to perform. Yet they rarely feel connected to a deeper purpose. Aristotle believed that purpose, what he called telos, is the anchor of human action. Without a clear purpose, you drift. With it, you lead. Telos gives meaning to your habits, clarity to your decisions, and resilience to your challenges. It turns daily actions into a larger mission. A leader with purpose moves differently. They think long-term. They stay calm under pressure. They act intentionally. They communicate with conviction. Their energy is not scattered because their direction is clear. Aristotle's philosophy also addresses a second crisis of modern leadership: emotional instability. Leaders constantly swing between motivation and exhaustion, confidence and doubt, clarity and confusion. Aristotle believed that emotional discipline, not emotional suppression, was a sign of true wisdom. A leader who cannot manage their emotions cannot be trusted to manage anything else. Today's world rewards speed, intensity, and reaction. Aristotle teaches the opposite: pause, reflect, then act. Not from fear, not from impulse, but from reason and virtue. People today also struggle with decision fatigue. They make hundreds of choices each day, most of them shallow, but all of them draining. By nighttime, they sleep with full schedules and empty hearts. Aristotle's approach reduces decision fatigue by grounding choices in principle. Instead of making decisions based on mood, trends, or pressure, the leader decides based on virtue, courage, justice, discipline, balance. This creates consistency, and consistency builds trust. There is also a deeper crisis. Leaders today often feel disconnected from themselves. They achieve things but feel no joy. They are surrounded by people but feel isolated. They reach milestones but feel no transformation. Aristotle believed leadership without self-knowledge is impossible. He taught that understanding yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns, your virtues, your impulses, is the starting point of every meaningful action. Modern people avoid this introspection because they are too busy. Aristotle would argue they are too busy because they avoid introspection. Another problem today is the obsession with productivity. People treat productivity as the goal, not a tool. They equate activity with progress, speed with success, busyness with value. Aristotle would call this foolishness. Productivity without purpose is wasted effort. Motion without direction is chaos. He believed that productivity should be guided by wisdom, aligned with virtue and anchored in long-term growth. Otherwise, it becomes a trap, a way to stay so busy that you never confront the deeper questions of life. And perhaps the most dangerous modern challenge is the collapse of attention. People can barely focus for a few minutes without feeling the urge to check something, switch tasks, or escape discomfort. Aristotle would see this as a crisis of discipline. Without attention, there is no wisdom. Without attention, there is no strategy. Without attention, you cannot lead. Attention is the gateway to clarity, and clarity is the gateway to success. Aristotle's philosophy is not abstract. It is deeply practical. It teaches leaders how to think clearly, act intentionally, choose wisely, and live in a balanced state where productivity, creativity, and purpose can thrive. His methods cut through noise and reveal the core principles that matter: virtue, reason, discipline, balance, and purpose. And this leads to an important realization. Most of the challenges leaders face today are not external, they are internal. They are problems of mindset, habits, clarity, decision-making, and emotional regulation. These are the exact problems Aristotle spent his life studying. He understood the human mind decades before psychology existed. He understood human behavior centuries before leadership books were written, and he understood personal growth better than most modern thinkers ever will. This is why so many people feel they are working harder, yet achieving less. It is not a problem of effort. It is a problem of alignment. They are using modern tools with an ancient mind that has not been trained. They are chasing results without cultivating the character needed to sustain those results. Aristotle's wisdom brings alignment back. It reconnects your actions to your purpose, your habits to your goals, and your decisions to your values. When that alignment returns, everything becomes clearer. You know what to say yes to, you know what to decline, you know what matters, you know who you want to become. And this is where the transformation begins, because once you understand the crisis of modern leadership, you can finally see the solution. In the next chapter, we'll break down practical, step-by-step actions based on Aristotle's philosophy that you can apply immediately to build discipline, sharpen decision-making, and create daily habits that transform your leadership from the inside out. Aristotle never intended philosophy to remain trapped in books. He believed wisdom only becomes real when it is lived. A principle means nothing until it becomes a habit. A habit means nothing until it shapes your decisions. And decisions mean nothing until they consistently move your life toward excellence. This chapter is where Aristotle's philosophy becomes practical, where you begin applying his ideas to your daily routine, your leadership style, and your personal growth. Think of this chapter as the blueprint for visible change, not theory, not concepts, actions, repeatable steps, predictable results. Aristotle believed the human mind can be trained, just like the body. He believed character can be strengthened, just like a muscle. And he believed success and leadership are the natural byproducts of disciplined practice. The first practical idea Aristotle gives us is simple. Excellence requires deliberate repetition, not occasional effort, not motivation that fades after a few days, but a rhythm of action strong enough to shape your identity. This is why he emphasized the power of daily habits. They are small, but they determine everything. A leader who trains discipline every day becomes disciplined. A leader who trains clarity becomes clear. A leader who trains courage becomes courageous. Habits are not tasks, they are identity instructions. Aristotle believed every habit creates a direction, and that direction is your destiny. If your actions today were multiplied by 1,000, would they lead to wisdom or to chaos? This question alone can expose the truth about how you're living. To build Aristotelian excellence, start with these 3 foundational practices. First, establish morning clarity. Aristotle valued reason above impulse, and reason only emerges when the mind is centered. Before the world pulls at your attention, take a few minutes to orient your inner compass. Ask yourself 3 questions. What is my purpose today? What actions align with my long-term growth? What temptations or distractions must I guard against? This simple practice eliminates half the noise that usually dominates your day. It reinforces your telos, your purpose, and gives shape to your decisions. When purpose enters first, chaos enters last. Second, create a deliberate moment of stillness during the day. Aristotle believed contemplation was essential for wisdom. Not passive daydreaming, not scrolling. True contemplation, a focused pause where you observe your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotional state. Modern leaders rarely pause, which is why they make so many reactive decisions. A midday contemplative pause recalibrates your mind. It restores reason. It gives you space to respond instead of react. 5 minutes is enough to shift the rest of your day toward balance and clarity. Third, build the habit of reflective closure at night. Aristotle believed self-examination was the path to virtue. Not through guilt or shame, but through awareness. At the end of each day, ask 3 questions. What did I do well? Where did I fall into extremes? What can I improve tomorrow? This practice sharpens your self-knowledge and gradually aligns your behavior with your values. Every night becomes a small correction that shapes who you will be months from now. These 3 practices, morning clarity, midday contemplation, and nightly reflection, form the backbone of an Aristotelian routine. They create consistency, and consistency builds excellence. But Aristotle also believed that action must align with virtue, and virtue must be practiced with intention. So here are practical steps tied directly to Aristotle's core virtues, translated into modern leadership. For courage, practice 1 difficult action each day. Something you avoid but know is necessary. A difficult conversation, a decision you've postponed, a fear you've been nurturing. Aristotle believed courage grows by facing fear in small doses. When you choose the difficult path voluntarily, your confidence grows, your self-respect grows, and others begin to see you as a leader who doesn't hide from responsibility. For temperance, impose 1 limit on yourself each day. This could be limiting screen time, reducing interruptions, setting boundaries on work hours, or resisting emotional reactions. Aristotle believed that mastery begins with the ability to govern your impulses. When you control your impulses, you strengthen your reason. And when reason leads, results follow. For justice, practice fairness with intention. Make a decision not based on convenience or emotion, but on what is right. Recognize someone's effort. Give honest feedback. Support a team member. Hold yourself to the same standard you expect of others. Justice builds trust, and trust is the currency of leadership. For discipline, set a minimum daily standard you will never break. Aristotle believed that small, reliable actions build the foundation for larger achievements. It could be reading for 10 minutes, exercising briefly, writing, planning, or practicing a skill. The goal is not intensity, but consistency. Leaders who maintain a minimum standard become unstoppable over time. Another practical application of Aristotle's philosophy is what he called practical wisdom, or phronesis. This is the ability to make good decisions consistently. To develop practical wisdom, Aristotle recommends 3 behaviors. Learn from experience, study people wiser than you, and think before acting. Today, this might look like keeping a decision journal, seeking mentors who represent the leadership you want to embody, and delaying reactions when emotions run high. The more often you practice phronesis, the fewer mistakes you make and the stronger your influence becomes. Aristotle also believed in shaping environments that reinforce virtue. He knew that habits don't survive in environments that contradict them. To apply this today, audit your surroundings. Remove distractions that steal your focus. Organize your workspace to reduce cognitive load. Surround yourself with people whose standards pull you upward. Curate information that strengthens your clarity instead of overwhelming your mind. Leaders do not rise above their environment. They rise with it or fall with it. Transform your environment, and your habits transform with it. Another practical Aristotelian action is learning to choose the middle path in moments of intensity. When frustration rises, choose calmness instead of aggression or avoidance. When ambition spikes, choose strategy instead of haste or obsession. When fatigue sets in, choose rest instead of collapse or denial. The golden mean is not an abstract idea. It is a minute-by-minute choice that keeps your leadership centered and powerful. To deepen this daily practice, Aristotle encourages repeated small victories. Keep commitments to yourself. Complete tasks that matter. Follow through even when motivation fades. Every small victory sends a signal to your mind. I am becoming someone who leads myself. This internal shift is the root of external authority. The cumulative effect of these actions is transformative. You burn away distractions, strengthen discipline, elevate your clarity, and create a leadership presence that others instinctively trust. You begin to act with purpose instead of pressure, with confidence instead of self-doubt, with balance instead of emotional swings. You become steady in a world that is unstable. And perhaps the greatest practical insight Aristotle offers is this: improvement compounds. A small habit repeated daily becomes a powerful identity. A minor adjustment in balance becomes a major correction in direction. A brief moment of clarity becomes a pattern of strategic thinking. Aristotle's approach is not about sudden breakthroughs. It is about gradual transformation, steady, intentional, and unstoppable. But the most surprising part is this: these actions are only the beginning. Once you establish basic virtues and habits, Aristotle teaches advanced strategies for leadership, decision-making, and influence that elevate your life far beyond ordinary success. And that is where we go next, into the advanced realm of Aristotelian leadership, where strategy, excellence, and purpose combine to create extraordinary results. Most people stop at habits. They improve their routine, sharpen their mindset, gain some consistency, and believe they have reached the peak of leadership. But Aristotle saw habits as only the beginning. Once your foundation is stable, once character, discipline, and balance are in motion, there is a higher level of mastery, a strategic level, a level where leadership becomes influence, clarity becomes foresight, and productivity becomes long-term success. This chapter explores that upper tier. These are not beginner ideas. They're not quick fixes or motivational tricks. These are advanced Aristotelian strategies, the kind used by leaders who quietly dominate their fields, shape organizations, navigate complexity, and create breakthroughs that others call luck. Aristotle believed that once you've developed virtue, the next step is learning to use it strategically. Virtue gives strength, but strategy gives direction. Together, they create the kind of leadership that doesn't merely function, it transforms. The first advanced principle is teleological thinking. Aristotle taught that every action must point toward an ultimate purpose. Most people live backwards. They make choices based on urgency, emotion, or convenience. Leaders who think teleologically reverse the process. They begin with the end. They define their telos, who they want to become, what their mission is, and the long-term impact they want to create. From there, they align every decision with that direction. Instead of drifting, they move precisely. Instead of reacting, they design. In a business context, this looks like creating strategy from first principles. Instead of copying competitors or following trends, you clarify what outcome matters most and build your actions around it. Aristotle believed this type of clarity separates ordinary thinkers from strategic leaders. Purpose becomes a filter. It eliminates noise and sharpens opportunity. Once you know your telos, half of your decisions become obvious. The second advanced strategy is balanced decision-making through practical wisdom. In modern leadership, decisions often come from extremes: too fast or too slow, too emotional or too detached, too safe, or too reckless. Aristotle's concept of the golden mean applies directly to high-stakes decisions. He believed the best choice lies between excess and deficiency, between impulsiveness and paralysis. To make decisions like this, Aristotle suggests 3 practices. Examine the facts without distortion, evaluate your emotional state, and consider long-term consequences instead of short-term relief. This creates a style of leadership that feels steady and reliable. People follow leaders who make thoughtful decisions, not those who swing between boldness and hesitation. In career and business, balanced decision-making becomes a competitive advantage because it reduces errors and increases consistency. 2 pillars of lasting success. Another advanced Aristotelian idea is the elevation of productivity from activity to intentional action. Aristotle would argue that productivity is not about volume. It is about alignment. Many leaders create motion without progress. They work constantly but achieve little. They drown in tasks yet fail to build momentum. Aristotle's approach is simple. Only actions aligned with your purpose and virtue deserve your energy. Everything else is noise. To apply this today, leaders must eliminate activities that do not contribute to long-term goals. This is not minimalism, it is strategic force. By reducing distractions, you increase your capacity for excellence. Aristotle believed clarity of purpose naturally creates clarity of effort. When leaders remove the trivial, they free space for high-leverage work, strategy, innovation, mentorship, creative thinking, and vision. These are the activities that shape organizations, not emails or status updates. Another advanced principle is what Aristotle would call the cultivation of intellectual virtue. Beyond moral virtues like courage and discipline, Aristotle believed leaders need intellectual virtues: insight, foresight, judgment, and understanding. These are developed through deep thinking, not speed, through reflection, not reaction, through learning, not repetition. In a business or leadership context, this means blocking time for high-level thinking, time to analyze market shifts, technological changes, team dynamics, long-term opportunities, and emerging risks. Leaders who never step back cannot see the field. They only see the next task. Aristotle would say they are reacting, not leading. Intellectual virtue elevates your perspective. It helps you see connections others miss, avoid mistakes others make, and identify opportunities before they appear obvious. Aristotle also believed in another powerful strategy: leading through example, not authority. This is the essence of ethos. In modern environments, people follow leaders who embody the standards they preach. They follow leaders who show discipline, humility, balance, and purpose, not those who talk about them. Aristotle was clear: credibility is earned through action. Your habits, your tone, your consistency, your discipline, they create silent authority. And silent authority is the strongest form of influence. In advanced leadership, this principle becomes a tool. When your presence communicates stability and virtue, you naturally create trust. And trust accelerates everything. Productivity increases, conflict decreases, innovation rises. Teams feel safe to take risks. This is the kind of leadership that builds strong companies and lasting careers. Another advanced Aristotelian strategy is emotional leadership without emotional instability. Aristotle did not believe in eliminating emotion. He believed in governing it. Leaders who cannot regulate their emotions cannot regulate outcomes. Emotional discipline is essential for strategic leadership because high-level decisions often occur under pressure. Anxiety and fear distort clarity. Anger creates blind spots. Excitement can lead to reckless decisions. Aristotle's solution is moderation. Pause before reacting. Check your emotional state before making critical decisions. Train yourself to remain calm in intensity. Calmness is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. A leader who remains centered in uncertainty creates stability for others. This is why emotional balance is one of the most valuable leadership skills in modern business environments. Another advanced insight Aristotle offers is the concept of deliberate mentorship. He believed wisdom grows faster when guided by those who have already achieved excellence. Today, this means seeking mentors, advisors, or models of leadership who embody virtue, clarity, and strategic thinking. The modern world encourages self-learning, but Aristotle believed the fastest path to excellence is learning from those who already live at the level you want to reach. This compresses time. It eliminates avoidable mistakes. It expands your thinking. Leaders who surround themselves with wise people rise faster and fall less. Finally, Aristotle believed advanced leadership requires alignment between who you are, what you believe, and how you lead. Many leaders struggle because they live in fragmentation. Their values say one thing, their actions say another, and their goals say something entirely different. This internal inconsistency creates stress, confusion, and burnout. Aristotle's strategy is integration. When your character, purpose, habits, and decisions all move in the same direction, you become powerful, focused, resilient, productive, strategic. This internal alignment creates external influence. The result of all these advanced strategies is transformation at scale. You stop thinking like a manager and start thinking like a leader. You stop being controlled by urgency and start shaping your future intentionally. You stop chasing productivity and start generating meaningful impact. Aristotle's advanced leadership principles turn success from a possibility into a pattern. When you reach this level, something shifts. Leadership stops feeling like effort and begins to feel like identity. Productivity stops feeling like a race and begins to feel like rhythm. Decision-making stops feeling heavy and becomes clear, steady, and intuitive. This is the stage Aristotle would call the fulfillment of potential, the point where your character, your habits, your strategy, and your purpose merge into one unified way of being. Aristotle believed that the ultimate goal of human life was eudaimonia. The word is often translated as happiness, but it means something far deeper. It means living in a state of flourishing, growth, excellence, and full self-expression. It is the feeling of moving through life with direction, purpose, and strength. It is not a moment of success. It is a lifestyle of continuous elevation. And for Aristotle, leadership was one of the most powerful paths to achieving it. To reach this level of mastery, a leader must stop thinking like a performer and start thinking like a creator. You no longer act based on external expectations. You act based on an internal standard anchored in wisdom. You do not chase opportunities. You choose them based on alignment. You do not fear obstacles. You use them to refine your character. You do not seek validation. You draw confidence from the virtues you practice daily. This is where the deeper transformation begins. Aristotle believed that when a person consistently practices virtue, clarity, and deliberate action, their inner world changes. Fear weakens, self-doubt fades, emotional turbulence settles, clarity becomes natural, balance becomes instinctive, discipline becomes automatic. You begin to experience life through a new lens, one built on strategy, wisdom, and excellence. One sign of reaching Aristotelian mastery is that your decisions no longer feel rushed. You analyze less through panic and more through perspective. You understand which opportunities deserve your time and which are distractions. Your productivity becomes focused instead of scattered. You produce more with less effort because your actions are aligned with your goals. This is where leaders begin to accelerate far beyond their peers. They stop wasting energy. They stop chasing noise. They begin operating with precision. Another indicator of mastery is the shift in your emotional posture. Instead of being reactive, you become responsive. Instead of being drained by stress, you remain steady under pressure. You stop allowing moods to dictate your actions. Aristotle called this emotional virtue: temperance, courage, patience, humility, and strength. These qualities make you a leader people trust. They create a sense of stability that others naturally gravitate toward. The transformation also appears in your relationships. As you practice justice, kindness, fairness, and empathy, your leadership becomes more human and more influential. People open up to you. They follow your direction. They trust your decisions. They feel grounded in your presence. This is the kind of leadership that changes teams, cultures, and communities. It is not forceful. It is not loud. It is quietly powerful. Mastery also brings a new relationship with growth. Instead of fearing improvement, you pursue it. Instead of resisting feedback, you welcome it. Aristotle believed a true master is always a student, someone who refines their mind, studies great thinkers, and learns from every experience. The difference is that at this stage, learning no longer feels like catching up. It feels like expanding your capacity to lead with excellence. Aristotle also believed mastery reveals your unique potential. Every person has a blend of talents, strengths, virtues, and experiences that make them capable of a specific kind of excellence. When you reach this stage, your leadership no longer imitates others. It becomes distinctly yours, clear, disciplined, balanced, strategic, and infused with your personality and purpose. This is when leadership becomes legacy, and legacy is the ultimate expression of Aristotelian success. It is the mark you leave behind, the impact you create through your decisions, your mindset, your discipline, and your character. Legacy is not fame. It is not recognition. It is the influence that continues even when you are not in the room. It is the confidence your team carries because you shaped their thinking. It is the structure you built that continues to create opportunity for others. It is the wisdom that grows in the people you mentored. Aristotle believed this kind of legacy is the truest form of success because it multiplies your excellence through other lives. At this stage of mastery, the transformation is undeniable. Your clarity is sharper, your judgment is steadier, your ambitions are wiser. You no longer chase balance, you embody it. Leadership becomes natural, not forced. Productivity becomes aligned, not chaotic. Every part of your life begins to reflect the virtues you practice. You start to feel a sense of inner confidence that does not depend on circumstances. This is the level where leaders stop surviving and start shaping their world. They become strategic, disciplined, balanced, and purposeful. They operate in a space of wisdom that very few people ever reach. They move differently. They decide differently. They speak differently. Their presence changes the behavior of others. Aristotle believed the world needs leaders who reach this stage, leaders who align virtue with strategy, clarity with action, and purpose with influence. These leaders transform families, organizations, and societies. They create environments where people rise instead of fall, grow instead of stagnate, and collaborate instead of compete destructively. Mastery becomes contribution, but perhaps the most profound transformation is internal. When you reach Aristotelian mastery, you begin to feel that you are living in harmony with yourself. Your choices match your values. Your actions reflect your purpose. Your habits reinforce your identity. This alignment creates a life of integrity, confidence, and long-term success. It is the ultimate expression of human potential. This is the promise of Aristotle's philosophy: transformation through virtue, wisdom, and disciplined action. A transformation that shapes not only your leadership, but your entire life trajectory. Once you experience this, you never go back. You understand what it means to live with direction, with balance, with strategy, with excellence. We've gone from building a strong foundation of character, through understanding modern challenges, practicing daily habits, applying advanced strategies, and reaching mastery. The message is simple. Aristotle's philosophy works because it is practical, not theoretical. It shows how to lead with balance, make decisions with clarity, cultivate discipline, and create a life filled with purpose and excellence. The main takeaways are clear. Character shapes everything. Leadership starts with who you are, not what you do. Balance is essential. Apply the golden mean in your decisions, emotions, and ambitions, because extremes always undermine progress. Purpose drives action. Align your daily choices with your long-term goals and higher values. Wisdom compounds over time. Small, consistent victories build transformation. Discipline and reflection turn action into identity. And mastery is a journey, not a moment. True leadership is a lifestyle of intentional growth, virtue, and strategic action. Start applying these principles now. Examine your habits. Adjust your decisions. Lead with integrity and clarity. Your influence, your focus, and your results will grow faster than you imagine. For deeper insights, you can explore content that builds on these ideas, such as learning Aristotle's secrets to mastering success or discovering his timeless lessons on happiness and fulfillment. If this video helped you, leave a comment sharing which principle you will apply first. Subscribe for more strategies to lead effectively and live intentionally, and turn these ideas into results you can see every day.